What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down Van Jefferson's route running at the Senior Bowl. I think this is just a great display of why he's one of the best route runners in this upcoming draft class, and I hope this gives you guys some value and just teaches you guys some things that you can do for your game to help your routes. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is this kind of hesitation release here. DB's inside leverage, right? He's on the goal line running this fade. Now, a great technique here that a lot of people use is they'll attack leverage, they'll give this peek back, then they snap it off, and the ball's out. Okay, so now, obviously, in this situation, we want a touchdown. Ball was out a little late. Don't mean to knock the quarterback here. Receiver, he probably doesn't have a lot of chemistry with, not a lot of timing with. That's the thing about the Senior Bowl, but it's still a good route. So let's watch it full speed. Comes off here, gives him a little hesitation, bursts upfield, snaps this thing off. Okay, so you see a lot of coaches will say like, oh, attack leverage, burst upfield, sudden snap down, and then that's it. That's all they talk about, right? But what is the main things that make this efficient, right? So he's inside leverage. He comes off this thing and he's attacking his leverage, right? Because he's obviously going to be running a comeback, so he doesn't want to just go run up into this thing right now because that DB's just going to turn and run with him. He attacks the leverage here because this DB's got two choices to make. Either he could just stay here and sit down and have it, or not really sit down, but keep his feet flat, or he could keep his inside leverage and move to the inside, right? And that's what some coaches will teach. They'll say, oh, the DB needs to keep his leverage, right? So keep shuffling with him to the inside. Well, all he's doing is just giving up space. So when we come off the line of scrimmage here, especially when I give this little hesitation, and you see how it gets his feet to stop, when I burst up field to the outside here, it's going to get a reaction out of him, right? So he bursts up fast here. Now this DB's in oh shit mode. He thinks that this quarterback's just going to throw this thing up to the back pylon. That's what we want to sell right now, okay? And how I do that, how I sell that effectively is with my speed. So I hesitate, I freeze him, then I leave him, okay? I burst up field. Now I could work this kind of a release. Let's say he's a little bit more inside leverage. Let's say we're at like the 20, and same thing. We're throwing this to the back pylon. I hesitate, kick up into second gear, throw this thing to the back pylon, right? Or a comeback. It goes both ways, right? Or hell, even a speed out, any kind of outbreaking route. But I attack his leverage to keep my distance from the sideline. So now, when he snaps this thing off at the top, everybody can say, oh, you want to be sudden when you snap down, right? But what's the technique of that snap down? You want to drop your hips here and bring your chin to your knee. What I see a lot of people do when they snap down is they sit their butt down, but their chest pops up, right? And they expose their number. You want to go forward. It's kind of like how when you're maybe a kid and you're running from like a sibling or something down a hallway, and you've seen it a million times where they'll slow down, they'll pick their chest up, and they take all these steps. When you're running a route, you want to do the opposite. You want to go forward, because that makes your hips and your legs and your feet in a powerful and explosive position, right, which can shoot you back downhill. So you see when he snaps down here. Now, a lot of people like to snap down with this inside leg on a comeback, and I'm going to tell you why I personally like the outside leg. It's really coached both ways, but it's just one less step when you go on the outside leg, I think, right? So he snaps down with the outside leg here. Now he just pivots off the second, drives off the third. It's 3 steps, right? And I think effectively, if your hips are violent enough and you have enough body control where you've worked drills where you're just running and focus on stopping, focus on changing direction, you're going to be able to get in and out of breaks fast like this. So again, you snap, then you pivot, and then you drive off the third step. That third step, though, has got to give you some energy back to the ball. What I see a lot of people do is that third step doesn't drive them. They'll pivot, then they'll hit that third step, but they're not pushing. They're not trying to create some energy, and they're not pumping their arms back down to this pylon, and then they take these little extra steps right here, right off of that third step, right? But you see when Jefferson runs this thing, he goes 1, 2, 3, and you see that 4th step and that 5th step are already taking him back downhill. Now, the DB's not in a horrible position, but if this ball's out early, that's an easy touchdown, right? But again, doesn't have timing with this receiver. This is not a quarterback he's familiar with. The quarterback doesn't have a receiver he's familiar with. But again, we're still able to get some space, get that DB reaching, and then we make this catch. That's a great job, great route by Van Jefferson. Now again, the reason why I don't like that outside leg here is because imagine if he snapped down here, right? So he snaps down with the inside leg. Then he goes left, right, left again. That's 4 steps, right? And then if God willing, we don't push off of this leg right here, we're going to take 2 extra steps at the top. So then it turns into 6 steps, right? So I would rather have you snap down, pivot, then drive off the third, maybe 4, 5, a little bit of extra steps, but at least we have the ability to get out of it in the least amount of steps possible, okay? So I hope that makes sense. So I hope this stem makes sense. Attack the leverage, push up field, get him in oh shit mode to recover, and snap this thing off, drop my hips finally. Let's watch it full speed one more time. So hesitate, kick up into second gear, 1, 2, 3. In and out of this thing, pump my arms out of the break. Cannot stress that enough. Okay, so now we're going to talk about here a situation where I don't mind having a little bit of extra steps at the top of the route because of our speed. So let's watch at full speed here. He's going to be running this dig. Now he takes this outside release, 1, 2, 3, 4, out of this break. Now, why is he able to get so much separation on this DB? His speed, right? So when he comes off the line, he goes right, left here, right? Kind of this like split release, right, left. And if we could get this DB in this real wide base, his base is obviously very wide. He's not going to be as fast as us if we're exploding upfield, right? So I just got to make sure I drive, and I got to make sure I push vertical. Now, obviously, Jefferson isn't thinking that. He's not looking at his base the entire time while he's coming off the line, but that's just a reason why I think the DB could have probably played this thing a little bit better, is not be so wide with his base. But when we do a split release off the line like how we did here, split release 1, 2, and I'm focused on exploding up, you see low man's going to win, right? So he's low. He's in this explosive pad level position. Now, right here, this is a very dangerous spot for this DB, right? Because Jefferson's pushing forward. His eyes are straight forward. He's not giving any indicator with his pad level. Now, how do I change direction when I'm running full speed like this? Well, again, a lot of people love to do. They pick their chest up and they start to slow down, then they snap down, right? That's not what I'm trying to get out of this. Your hips are what slow you down, right? So he's running full speed up on this route here and drops. You see how his hips drop and his chin drops to his knee, and the low man's going to win, right? This DB's nice and tall. Now, here's the thing about this. This DB has no idea when we're going to drop my hips and make a break, right? So we got to make sure that I'm pushing vertical, I'm pushing fade, and I just snap it off, right? Because he has to react off of us. So you see, we're already snapped down. Now he's trying to put the brakes on. But again, what did I say earlier? The low man's going to win, right? If I can drop my hips on a dime after going full speed, that's what's going to change direction for me, and that's what'll make me able to shoot out with some separation, right? So again, now what foot did he snap down with here? Snap down with his inside leg. Now a lot of people would like to say, oh, you should just snap down with the left and then go off of your right leg and drive and get you out. If you watch a guy like Julio Jones, he's one of the best, and Odell, one of the best at going off that inside leg and getting out of the break as fast as possible. But it's hard to do. Much easier said than done when you're going full speed. But here's the thing I don't want. I don't want you guys to slow down at this point and start to bring your chest up just to make sure you get the 2 correct steps. I want you guys to actually use your hips to drop you. And if you got to take those 2 extra steps, that 3, 4 right there, that's fine as long as your speed was good, because he's not going to react anyways. 4 steps is better than slow than 2 steps, and allowing him to feel your speed to change and then have a better reaction on the ball. Okay, so your hips got to drop. And now, even though that outside leg, if that's his 4th step, it's got to drive him back over the middle of the field. He's got to pump his arms because he wants to continue to get some separation, and pumping those arms is the best way to do that. That's a great job here by Jefferson working this route. That's a really good job. Those extra steps I do not care about as long as we're pushing vertical, right? Yes, in a perfect world, I would like for it to be 2 steps every single time. But there are going to be times where maybe that you're running so fast, got a good pace, that you maybe take 2 extra steps, okay? It's not the end of the world. The end of the world for me is when you start to slow down and you let this DB feel your speed change, so he starts to slow down because you're so focused on getting it in 2 steps, and then he's able to make a play on it, right? Because they work on eliminating steps too. But if you sell fade, everything's a fade until it's not, and then you drop your hips aggressively and violently, he has no time to react, okay? This is a great job. Let's watch it full speed one more time, okay? So freeze him, burst up field, sell vertical. So freeze him, burst up field, and just hips right now. In and out of this break, pump those arms. That's such a good route by Jefferson here, okay? So now he's going to be running this comeback here. So again, we're going to talk about the correct steps and how he kind of changes up the speed on this route. So a little bit of a skip, kick up into second gear. That is as smooth as it gets, guys. That is as smooth as it gets. So you see, he comes off the line fast, right? Now this DB's kind of in this off man look, right? So my whole thing is I want to get him to be able to turn those hips and run with me. I don't want him to be able to stay in a back pedal the entire time. So what does he do? He kind of gives this little like skip here, lets him feel that speed change, then kicks up into second gear, right? Now, when I kick up into second gear, that's what we were saying, very much similar to that red zone comeback that we were looking at in the very first clip, trying to get this DB to overcommit because he is scared out of his mind to get beat over the top. He does not want to get beat over the top. And when I could get him in an overreactive position, when I could get him to start running and to start chasing, all I got to do is snap it off as least amount of steps possible and get out of this break fast. So again, which foot is he going to be snapping down with? That inside leg right here, his left leg in this scenario. So he snaps down here. And again, the only way I can change direction going full speed is by dropping my hips and bringing my chin to my knee, being in a very explosive position. If I am too tall, if I don't get to this position right here, If my butt isn't dropping that low, if my hips aren't violent, if my feet aren't powerful, that's the thing that a lot of people forget to coach. They love to coach the hips, but they can't coach the feet because the feet will end up just drifting if they're not powerful and you're not picking them up. This is the only way I could change direction here. If I stay super tall and I don't drop, especially a taller guy like Jefferson, I'm not going to get any space. So again, 1, 2, 3, he's out of the break, running off of that thing. That's as smooth as it gets right there. Now, the steps are important here too. You want to have powerful feet. You don't want to snap down and then be real choppy with your feet right here because you're not going to have any drive. You want to pick your feet up almost like you're stomping on the ground. So you want to snap, pivot, drive. But the whole time your feet are powerful, this third step, what's it doing? It's driving you back to the ball. And again, the low man's going to win. He's reacting when we snap. We know when we're going to snap this thing off. We know the depth. We know the correct steps on the route to snap this thing off. He does not. So if I could push vertical and I just snap here, one snap, 2, 3, and we're out of this break and I pump my arms back to the ball, that's a perfect job here by Van Jefferson. Let's watch it full speed again one more time. Change up the speed, kick into second gear, in and out of this break. Let's watch it again. So it comes off here, bursts up, 1, 2, 3. In and out of it. That's as smooth as it gets. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, guys. Please leave in the comments any questions you guys have. And if you want me to take a look at your route running, check out that link in the description, guys. It says Film Breakdown. Hopefully we get you signed up on my website. I'll see you guys next time.